Welcome to Level Select, a golf podcast by Fair Wagers where we aim to help you learn more about some of the nation's most talked about golf courses, as well as uncover some hidden gems with a little help from our friends and their firsthand experiences. As always, I'm TJ Van Gunten, and with me is Sean Massey. Today, we're going on a virtual trip to the Pacific Northwest to talk about a must-play first, a 9-hole golf course. First time we've ever done one. We're talking about the Summerfield Golf Course in Tigard, Oregon, with Jeff Peart of Chasing Aces. Jeff, welcome to Level Select.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, we're excited to talk Summerfield, and we're excited to talk Chasing Aces and your upcoming event, the Franklin Open, that you're going to be having at Summerfield. But first, you run a brand called Chasing Aces. I got to ask, are you still, in fact, chasing that elusive ace? Do we have one? Do we have a story? What's the deal?
Unfortunately, I am chasing aces still. I've been close twice. I was playing Oregon City, a course out here, par 4, and I drove it within about 2 feet and tapped in for the eagle, which was amazing and rare. I've only done, it's not often that I drive the par 4.
No.
And then I was close at Summerfield on hole 9, but again, close doesn't count for anything until you have it. So yes, I'm forever chasing.
Does anyone have one during the Open at Summerfield?
Not at the Franklin Open yet, but we did have an event in January at Envision Golf, which is one of our indoor simulator spots here in town. And we had the 24 hours of Chasing Aces, which was one of my worst ideas, because I asked them, what would it cost to have the place for 24 hours running, because obviously they close at 10 or 11. And I said, well, how much for the business operations to go full 24 hours? And they came back with a real number. And so then I went and got sponsors, and I came back with that number. And I said, I would like it for 24 hours, please. And which they did. So from noon on Saturday to noon on Sunday, people would come in. It was all for charity. They would donate or pay $10 to the charity. They'd get swings in the bay, and if they made a hole in one, they would get $10,000.
How cool is that?
And then the idea was that would only take 5 minutes per person, but the rest of the bays were discounted to encourage them to then play around at Pebble Beach or Pinehurst or whatever. So noon on Saturday, event starts. Somebody makes it at around 6 o'clock on Saturday early evening. Amazing, high energy from around 6 to 8. Place was buzzing, super fun. Then it starts to die down. By about 10 o'clock, it's kind of over. So I have to go roughly 10 p.m., 11 p.m. until noon Sunday with no big prize on the table and people slowly leaving. I mean, I was alone for hours. My friend Jared, who, if you've watched any of our social media, you've seen him. He's with me all the time. He and I ended up putting Tin Cup on one of the main screens and just watching Tin Cup at like 3 a.m. because there's nothing else going on. So my long-winded answer, no one's made it at the Franklin Open. We had somebody make it at the 24 hours of Chasing Aces, and I will never do that again.
Yeah.
I love that idea, but I think it's really funny because you think about all the people who run the live streams and we're live streaming until we do a hole in one. Mm-hmm. Sean and I have this harebrained idea where we're actually staying at a house attached to a golf course, and the house that we're staying at has a sim in the garage. And we said, okay, let's just fire up the sim and let's live stream on Fair Wagers and see how long we can run it until one of us makes an ace. And it could be it could be the worst idea ever because we're supposed to play golf again at that golf course the next day. So we could be absolutely tanking the next day in terms of golf rounds. It could be just a heavy, skit kind of day.
For sure. The one last bit about that, because I love sharing it. The husband and wife that were driving to the course that day, the husband made it that night. They were driving to the course, and the story goes, she says, if I make it, I'm blowing the $10,000 on a girls' trip with my mom and sisters, and we're going to do that. And he said, if I make it, I'm blowing all the money on a trip with my dad and brother to Pebble Beach. Fast forward, he makes it. Fast forward, he gets his money from the insurance. Insurance covered the policy, of course. He gets his $10,000. And now I'm thinking, he's holding the money, there's no way he's actually going to blow it all on Pebble Beach. He's got a young son. He's going to be, responsible about this. But a week later, I get a text. It's booked. I'm doing this. We're doing this. They're doing this. They spent about, $8 or $9 grand of it. I do the whole thing on the entire trip. Incredible. Had the trip of a lifetime. It took a year later. They've finally gone. And I love it. It's such an amazing story. It's absolutely worth staying up 24 hours for, for that type of story. And I love it. It's great.
No, that's
so cool. You'd still be talking about that, especially if you get to take your dad or some family member.
Yeah. And I can keep going. He made the trophies. The guy that won it makes our trophies for the Franklin Open. He and his dad won the tournament the first year, or the second year, excuse me. His dad comes back with his brother, his other son, wins it again. There's rumors he's going to bring his wife this year and try and win it for a three-piece. So anyways,
oh my gosh.
They're very much linked to our brand, and I love telling the stories about it.
That's very cool. I want to dive into Summerfield, but before we dive a little bit into Summerfield and talk about some more Pacific Northwest golf, as we kind of always tend to lean to on the podcast, I want to talk about today's sponsor, which also happens to be a brand specifically out of the Pacific Northwest, Clinch Golf.
This episode of Must Play is brought to you by Clinch Golf, a brand that we love and stand behind. Clinch Golf is reimagining the golf glove with cutting-edge performance materials that outlast and outperform leather gloves. Traditional gloves wear out fast, they lose their grip, and they can't handle the elements. Clinch's tactile gloves deliver all-season traction, they maintain their grip even when wet, and they're going to last twice as long. Plus, they're breathable, washable, and they're touchscreen friendly, so you can still check in on those parlays while you're out on the course. It's time to upgrade your golf game with the next generation of golf gloves. See the difference for yourself at clinchgolf.com and use promo code FAIRWAGERS for 10% off.
So, Jeff, obviously Summerfield holds a special place in your heart. I think you've held every Franklin Open there at this point, yes?
Yep.
So tell us about Summerfield. Tell us why you wanted to come on and chat about the course today.
Absolutely. Well, I believe it's a bit of a hidden gem, which you've probably heard on these, from people that come onto the show. But the reason I say that is it's within a 55 and older community, and not a lot of people think it's a public course. They think that you have to live there to play there. And, having talked to the pros and the folks at Summerfield a handful of times, over the years, in the beginning, as we were building this, they just said, a lot of people don't think that they can play it. They just drive right past us and they're not aware that the public can play this course. And Summerfield's been super supportive of us and our brand, and I get to ask a million questions and run all the ideas by, Rob, the golf pro there. And I want to pay that back. And so running our tournament through their, at Summerfield through their course is kind of our way of drawing as much attention to it as possible.
Okay. Now I know it's only a 9-hole course. Do you guys run it during the tournament as a 9-hole or an 18-hole?
It's a 9-hole. So the day, because, as our name says, chasing aces, we move everything up to a par 3 at the Franklin Open. So you're chasing aces on every hole, prizes on every hole. They get bigger as you go the course. This year we're doing rounds of golf as KP prizes. Obviously, you're trying to get a hole-in-one. That's the whole point of this thing. So the closest to do that, the KP, would obviously win the prize. And so the first 3 or 4 holes are 9-hole courses around town, Seaside at the coast, Vernonia, Summerfield, McKay. But then as you go, it becomes an 18-hole prize, Rose City, Chehalem. So they just get bigger. So Summerfield that day is a par 3 just for us. But typically it's an executive course.
You had mentioned something in there about KP, and this actually brings up a very interesting point that I did not know until even recently. Sean, do you know what KP is?
Closest to the pin.
Okay. I had this debate recently where I don't know if it's just like the way that I've grown up learning more about golf through social media, but I had never heard the term KP. I had always seen C to P when people abbreviate closest to pin. Am I in the minority here on this?
I think it's inside ball type talk, right? It's
inside baseball stuff.
Yeah, it's a common phrase, to be honest, but it's if you weren't playing golf growing up, I could understand why you wouldn't know the phrase.
Why would they call it KP? Do either of you know?
Why is it strike out a K?
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
I would assume for the K for the strike out, because S is used for something else in baseball. I don't know. I don't know the answer to why it's a KP. So I'm just guessing.
Well, if this makes it to social media, or if you're just here listening to the podcast and you know the reason why, please let us know, like in the comments, or tag us and let us know if you've got some sort of, great reason as to why it's called KP, or even why a strikeout's called a K.
Yeah. And I'm
okay.
relatively new to golf, so I've only been playing 6 years. So all closest to the pin and KP. I don't know why it's KP, but it is what it is. So we're going with it.
I think it's one of those things that like your grandfather called it that at some point, and it became a thing, and then all of a sudden it was like always known as that. Like I don't know when it started. I'm speaking out my ass here, but I definitely remember this being like one of the things that like, oh, you just didn't know that until you played in tournaments, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, clear. And once you played them once, now you know what the phrase is.
I think that's probably where my lack of knowledge comes from. It's just not playing in tournaments and no one ever saying like, oh, and a KP prizes. And I'm like, and I got to whisper over to Sean and be like, what's a KP?
For the longest time, I had never used the phrase green in reg or fairways in reg, like a GUR. And so I'd hear people go GUR. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about?
Well, people were saying Gurn and Fern, and you had no idea.
Gurn and Fern.
I'm rarely Gur or Fur, so I don't ever have to use them.
Right? The check off the one per round for me. Sick.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Sean, do you have any knowledge of Summerfield? You're our resident golf sicko, golf nerd. Call him what you want to call him. But what kind of prior knowledge do you have, or is this kind of be your first time hearing about Summerfield?
So this is one of the blind spots for me, honestly. I've played a lot of golf around Summerfield, and I am one of the people that probably drove past a 55-plus community and thought, I'm not there unless I have a grandparent that lives there, or a family member that lives there, right? Because one of my favorite courses, which is not necessarily that close, but is Langdon Farms. And so when I stay in Portland, I go down to Langdon all the time.
Drive right by it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite courses. And then we go to Beaverton or Lake Oswego all the time and stuff. And so I've been past this course, and I've never once heard about it. And I haven't heard about it from anyone of my friends that live in Portland too. So I'm guessing they also haven't played it. So it's a complete blind spot for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I do have a few fun facts / trivia here. So I'm gonna hit you guys with this. I'm interested. One is going to be kind of more so directed at Sean, but if you know the answer, please feel free to let us know.
Ooh, trivia.
So the first one here, the Summerfield Golf Course was designed by Theodore Robinson in 1973. Sean, do you know any other courses? Or I'm asking. Actually, I'm looking for a specific course here. What other course has Ted Robinson designed that we have talked about on the podcast before? There's an asterisk on talking on the podcast.
Yeah, we haven't used it's not been one of our featured courses, but it's come up on the pod.
Correct.
Or
Jeff, if you know, feel free to steal here.
I don't.
No? Okay.
1970 you said they did this?
He designed Summerfield in 1973. I don't know about the other course.
Okay. If it's in the 73 range, then I'm going to go with Reserve.
It is not the Reserve.
Oh,
Ted Robinson made his way down the coast, few blocks over from the house, and designed the Rancho Bernardo Inn.
No way.
Yes. He is the designer of the Rancho Bernardo Inn, which is, Jeff, if you're uninformed, that's essentially my home course.
Wow. That's great.
Sean and I have played it together before. It's my best friend and my arch nemesis. But I couldn't actually believe that when I was doing the research on this episode, where I was like, what are the odds that he designed a course that we've talked about multiple times on the podcast, which we will cover at some point on Must Play.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. A few other fun facts here. Like Jeff said, it's only a 9-hole golf course, but I believe, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong here, they usually set up 2 different tee boxes at different distances that kind of give you a little bit of a different routing. So that way, if you want to run it as an 18-hole loop, you can, and you're not just playing back through the same 9 identically and just grabbing the same 7 iron again, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's red and blue front and back. They also have, senior tees because it is 55 and older. But they have the silver senior tees up there. But the tee boxes do have, I think I said black. It's red and blue tee boxes, and you can, they alternate front and back or every other. So if you go through twice, you would just go front and back.
Very cool. Very cool. I like that a lot, just to give it some variety as well. And then this golf course is also home to 2 different Oregon Superintendent of the Year winners, which I thought was pretty cool for a retirement community 9-hole golf course to be winning like a prestigious award like that, where you would think that, somebody who usually runs a smaller golf course is going to get often overlooked, which means they're doing a great job out there.
Yeah, and those are deserved. It's a great condition, or it's in great condition, and it often is. We'll talk about hole 5 when we kind of get a little bit further into the show, I bet. But that's the only one that has a little bit of a water problem during the late fall, early spring. You don't want to go left. yeah, you don't want to go left because you're going to end up mucking in the mud. But other than that, it's great conditions, and I know a lot of people say that, but I would invite anyone to come out and try it out for themselves and see, because they do a great job taking care of the course.
Real quick, for people who don't play in the PNW that much, especially Portland during those time frames that you just talked about, it is a completely different style of golf that living here in the desert, my handicap in the PNW is probably 10 points higher because I am just the guy that's getting all mud. And they're like, what are you doing? Of course, you put it in the back of your stance. You got to go ball first. You're not going to get under this. Versus out here where I'm like taking big divots. And if a course drains well in Portland area, it's almost like instantly like a course you should go play during those time frames because of that. Such a weird concept.
My goal last year was to play at least once a month throughout the entire year. And while a little bit cold at times in December, January, February, able to play I played Summerfield at least once a month the entire 2024. And how golfers are, we have these weird goals and we're checking things off and whatever. So that was one of mine in 24. And it because of the way that it drains, minus the left side of hole 5, it's great year round.
That's awesome. Cool.
Okay, so I want to talk about your kind of maybe your first experience there, Jeff. Maybe why Summerfield holds a little special place in your heart. Do you remember the first time you ever played there? Like, does that day just come back to you like it was yesterday?
I mean, what I do remember, yes, I remember the first time I played. I don't have this big grand memory of it because it was just a struggle, and it had nothing to do with the course. It was my absolute lack of talent. But it was enjoyable in the sense that I was playing with Wendy, who is one of the staff in the pro shop, and she's 81 years old, nicest, sweetest, but while Rob owns the place, Wendy runs it. And so it was great playing with her to sort of show me around and kind of explain some things. One little tidbit is that on every hole at about 125 yards out, there's some blue fir trees, and there is no marker anywhere around. But if you're playing, you can look at those trees and go, I'm roughly 125 out. I kind of know where I'm at. I know what's going on. Obviously rangefinders and all those things, but I don't use a rangefinder. I just like to get out there and see what happens. I'm going to start blaming the mud for my 10 plus extra handicap there, but
wait, you don't calculate yardage on any of your shots?
No, I just show up and go do it.
Oh, I want to play so bad now. I just want to have you guess yardage.
Do you even look for a sprinkler, or you're just whiffing it, not whiffing it, winging it every time?
Yeah,
all your vibes.
Sometimes whiffing it too, but winging it for sure, and just sort of going, yeah, this feels like a 9, this feels like an 8, this feels like a pitching wedge, and just going with it. So that's how I play Summerfield. That's how I play a lot of courses. I actually don't have a rangefinder in my bag, but yeah, it's just,
you're a unicorn. That's like a person not owning a phone.
I was going to say you're literally the first person I've ever not even say I don't even want to know a yardage. I just want to I want to go off field.
I do look at the scorecard at the beginning and kind of go, what am I? You know, if it's a par 3, am I looking? But that just gives me in a ballpark to remind me that probably don't use my driver here. Maybe use, a pitching wedge.
Yeah.
But so that's how Summerfield is. Riding around with Wendy is an experience. It was wonderful. And she kind of showed me the, lay of the land and tried to keep me out of trouble. The funny part about her is obviously being 81, she doesn't hit it very far, but dead straight, super consistent, and gonna kick your butt up and down the course. But do it with a smile too, and make you have fun with it. But anyway, so that was my experience in Summerfield. I know. So anybody that is in the area, go in and see Wendy at Summerfield and give her a bad time, and she'll give it right back to you. It's great.
Nice. Love it. Yeah. Love that she's still ribbing people because that's what we all deserve out on the golf course. Everybody deserves to be a little bit ribbed while we're out on the golf course.
Yeah. And she'll chip at you a little bit.
Yeah. So we talked about your first time, but I think we usually like to pull in some outside perspectives on the golf courses that we talk about for the first time and not get a completely unbiased, or I guess actually biased, review from you. So we usually go out, we grab a really good review, and then we usually grab a pretty bad review. We kind of take a look at those, and this is kind of also your place to kind of stand ground and say, they're absolutely spot on there. I agree with that. Or if somebody's got a really bad take, feel free to let us know. Think that maybe that's a one-off experience or not. So we're going to lead off with the good review, the 5-star. This review actually had a title, which again, it always feels like when I read the 5 stars, they come from our guests, because the title of this was A Gem in the Suburbs. And you've already talked about it being a hidden gem. So we'll dive in. The first time I played Summerfield, I wasn't thrilled with it being lined by houses. I got over that right away. The little track is meticulously groomed. The greenskeeper has true pride in his job. The retirement community is wonderful, and I have never, ever had a bad time playing with a member. It's welcome to the public, and the local high school practices there as well. It's so fun to play and can be challenging. You just play it with your irons only if you need to get practice on that part of your game. The third hole is my favorite, and the 5th is my second, so I guess this isn't your review. A great water hole. I truly appreciate this little gem. Jeff, thoughts, comments, concerns? Do you have do you vehemently disagree with the third hole being their favorite?
No, the hole 3 is great. It's one of the par 4s, and right in front of the green is a rather large tree that you have to contend with, and everybody has to. So if you hit a nice drive, your next approach shot, you have decisions to make, and it can change that hole, because obviously you hit it into the tree, it's going to go any which direction. So you have to, hit a stinger and try and go under everything, or try and go over it, obviously, and it's a decision. And by hole 3, you're kind of getting warmed up, you're getting comfortable with the course, and you have a decision to make at that point. And how are you going to approach that? And that'll sort of change your day a little bit, right off the third hole.
Yeah, I would assume that
make you think like that. Sorry, TJ. I love holes that are like, we're going to put this one thing here. It's not necessarily in the way. It's just enough to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. This is like directly in the way. You have to just.
Oh, this one is. Okay, never mind.
It is. It is a large tree right in front of it. And again, it will mess with you. On hole 5 is my personal favorite of the course. I have fallen into this routine where it does not matter what my score is 1 through 4. I'm absolutely going to go for it on 5. I will not play it safe, and I will send it. There's water right off the tee box, so if you duff it, which I've done, it's going to go right into the water. And then there's water right by the green. And I've driven it twice. Perfect weather conditions. It's probably August, September, so it's going to carry a little bit more. One of them hit the side of the water and bounced up, so I don't really count that, but I do, because on a stat sheet, nobody knows, what really happened. So it counted as a green. And then I've driven it legitimately once. So because I've done it once, I think I can do it every time. And so it doesn't matter what my score is. On 5, I'm going to send it. And I have ruined countless rounds by trying to do that. But if I can do it, or when I do it, it's going to be the best round ever, and I'll never stop talking about it.
Right. You'll be like, I had an eagle, and it worked out for me.
Yeah.
I also think that I would assume that it being an executive 9-hole course, does it have a range?
It does not.
Yeah,
they're working on one.
Okay. So I was going to say probably by the 3rd or 5th hole, that's when you're finally actually starting to feel good with your game as well. And you've knocked off all the rust and you're like, okay,
correct.
I'm loose. Let's break out the driver.
Yeah. And to be clear, I said range. They're not actually going to build a range. It's very constricted by the houses around it. They're working on putting a practice area. So you're hitting into nets, 2 or 3 bays of nets right by the practice tee green or the putting green.
Okay. Still though, it's going to warm up.
Yeah, they're working on that, but it's probably won't be till later this summer. I can't imagine it'll be ready before the Franklin Open, but because they're, as you know, or I don't know if you know, but dealing with HOAs and the 55 and older community and the board and all the things, it's not just a public course. You got to get a few boxes checked and approved before you can put up something like that. So
most definitely.
Anyway, so no driving range, but they do have some nets. They do have an indoor practice area where Rob gives lessons. So you can, if you want to, potentially go back there and ask. I don't know if I'm putting that out there, if that's something he wants or not, but you might be able to go in and sneak a few swings. Probably not. He typically just gives lessons there. So feel free to cut that out.
I was going to ask, are you public enemy number 1 to the residents who want to keep this a hidden gem and don't want the public knowing about their
I've not asked that or thought about that, but I have talked to Rob and I told him I was coming on today, and he's super excited and wants as many people to know about it and wants to fill up the tee sheet. And it is quite popular. You know what I mean? Like people, with COVID, like everyone else with COVID and golf and at that time, it's the only thing you could do. And so it got really busy at that time. We just had a courses are kind of closing in the area. We had a course closed, Quail Valley just closed. And so they're not necessarily connected, or it's not going to result in a ton of tee times for Summerfield, but with the courses in the area closing, it's going to definitely pick up. So I think that people like it, because it's a shot of energy, having a different crowd, and it's not just 55 to 80-year-olds going around the course the whole time. We're sort of mixing it in, and sometimes, sparks fly, and then sometimes we all get along. It's great.
I mean, I think Sean and I have talked about it previously on the podcast, where I think our favorite age group of people to play with on a golf course is usually females over the age of 55. They're usually the best time out on the golf course because they don't care how they're playing. They're just excited to be out in the world for 4 hours with nothing to do other than play golf.
And they're usually fast. They're usually pretty
fast.
The men are usually average or slow, and the women are usually fast for whatever reason.
Because they don't care. They're not all worked up about it. They're not as they hand up. I'm super competitive. They don't care as much as I care. And on my end, it's to a fault, right? On their end, you're like, man, I wish I had more of that in my body and in my brain.
Yeah.
We just did a review of the Biltmore course on our last pod with Alex from Babes Golf, and the story I didn't tell in there was that on 18, infamously, I had an older woman, probably in her 60s, hit onto the green from only 100 yards away from the green. There was no chance she wasn't making the green. And her ball just rolls right to where we're putting. And I turn around, I'm like this, and she goes, "Speed it up." Incredible. I wasn't mad at all. I just waved to her and then picked up my ball.
On 18 too. I'm annoyed that I've been behind these guys all day. I'm gonna send one last warning shot off to let them know that I was upset.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay, so it feels like you're pretty on par and in agreement with the 5-star review. Let's jump into the bad review. Not a ton of bad reviews out here. It's not like Pinehurst where I could only find 1 or 2. There's a few, but let's see where you stand on this one.
Sure.
The website says public for those listening. I just did air quotes. But in person, it was described to me as semi-private. I did air quotes again. With tee times before 11 a.m. reserved for residents of the community. I understand not wanting to post tee times or a schedule online, but at least let the public know when they're allowed. It looks nice, but I'll be going somewhere else to play. Rebuttal, thoughts? Is that the truth, and it's just, or did this person not potentially look hard enough to find out what the actual situation was?
Well, it's both. It is true that they keep tee times open for the residents till 10:30 during the week. They have their men's and women's club often, and then they want their residents who pay a membership extra to be, to be there, to have access to the course. So during the week, it's 10:30. On the weekends, it's 7:30. That's standard, the tee time. So public, anybody can go at 7:30 on. They don't have booking tee times on a website. You got to call and book the tee time. Little old fashioned there. So I agree with the review. Like that's all true. It is.
Yeah.
You could say it's semi-private, but there's a bit of a give and take, a bit of a balance you kind of have to find. We want to make sure that the residents who live in the community have access to the course, because they're paying for the membership, just
Absolutely.
like any private club. But then they open it up on the weekends for the public.
Okay.
If it's semi-private, that means it's also semi-public. And
Correct.
Talk about, like I just mentioned Reserve earlier. Reserve has 2 18-hole courses, but they keep one course half of the month for the members and the other course to the public, and then they rotate the second half of the month. But if you didn't know that and you were just like visiting in town, you're like, oh, I want to play the North course or whatever, but it happened to be on the rotation for the members, you'd be a little pissed, and maybe you'd leave that 1-star review. But like, that's the point of being a member somewhere, is that you get the advantage of doing something like that. Correct. And you still have an opportunity to go play. You just, in this case, have to tee off a little later.
Yeah. Very, very few golf courses are actually propped up by tourism and people coming into town. And usually it's the people who live locally who are the ones who keep the golf courses afloat. So before we get into the must-play test and see where Summerfield excels against some of these questions, we're going to take a quick second to talk about today's episode sponsor, Clinch Golf.
TJ, I want to talk to you about our sponsor for today's episode, Clinch Golf. I've been using their glove for about 6 months now in the Arizona heat. It's still holding up. I put it in the bag, I pull it out, and it looks just like it did when I threw it in, unlike other gloves, which are all crinkled. It has some of the best grip on the clubs that I've ever felt, and I'm honestly very impressed. I know it has something to do with how they make the glove. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about the one that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I know that people think like a non-leather golf glove, hard pass. But like, let's think about this. What used to always be leather in the game of golf? The grips. What is no one using anymore? Leather golf grips. They've been replaced with more synthetic or rubber materials that enhance the grip, that feel a lot better. Why would you not think about doing the exact same thing with your gloves? And like, these gloves, they're reinforced in the palm, so they're not going to tear in that spot where almost every golf glove has ever torn across the entirety of time. And they may have accidentally created the best, worst business model ever, where we're not looking to replace these gloves for over 6 months. So if you're someone who wants to see the difference and upgrade your golf game, you're going to want to visit clinchgolf.com and use promo code FAIRWAGERS to get 10% off today.
Okay, so let's sit down and see where this course ranks among some of the questions on our must-play test. Sean and I have asked Jeff to come to the table with a few of the questions on the must-play test that he thinks Summerfield is going to pass with flying colors. So, Jeff, what's the first test that you want to take a look at today?
Well, question 5.
It's the buzzworthy test. So the buzzworthy test is, are there multiple holes worth talking about? Does this course have more than one hole that a group would want to play immediately? Go back and play immediately, I guess.
Yeah, and we touched on hole 3 with the tree in your way. That's a fun one, but that's just sort of a teaser. Again, hole 5 is my personal favorite. You've got to carry that water. If you turn around and look back behind you, you get a great view of the mountain on a clear day. So from the tee box, you can turn back around and see Mount Hood, which is just a nice little touch.
Yeah.
Like I said, hole 5 for me is where the round is won or lost. And so I'm curious if other people are doing that as well, or if people are trying to play a little bit more safe. So hole 5's a ton of fun. And then of course, hole 9 is a personal favorite as well. You end with a par 3, and it's again carrying over water, great setting, and just a ton of fun. So 3, 5, and 9 are my personal favorite, with 5 being the number 1.
I have a question on 5. Is the water right up until is the landing zone past the water, like pretty much the green, or is there plenty of run out after the water?
There's about 8 feet of,
that's it. Okay.
Of downhill rough. So you've got the water, you've got a bit of a retaining wall, and then you've got about 8 feet of rough, and then the green. And so there is a small patch that you can land on, or you could just hit the wall and bounce on like I did one time.
But that's the one you're attacking with driver?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sending it.
I love this.
Sending it every time. And again, I've hit houses. I've bounced off the path into the road. I've sent it into the water countless times. I mean, but the glory is worth it. I mean, we're chasing aces here. What are we doing? Not going for it.
Yeah. So my real question to you is, on that hole, are you pulling out the ball you're willing to lose, or are you pulling out the ball?
No, I play the same ball. Yeah, I'm not changing the ball. No, you play with the same ball. Play with the same ball you've got, and if you lose it, you lose it, and you drop another one and grab one out of the bag and drop it. But nope, I'm not. I don't carry a second ball. That puts fear. That puts hesitation. That puts second guessing by having that ball in your pocket. And like, no, we're not doing that. We're sending it.
Wait. So you only have one ball in the pocket. Like none in the pocket. You have one on the course, and you're not looking at yardages.
Correct.
You're just.
I have golf balls in the bag, but I don't walk up to a water hole with an extra ball in my pocket, thinking, "Well, this is going to go in the water." I mean, sure, it might, but I'm not leading that way. We're leading with confidence. We're going.
That's no way to think about it.
And delusion, but.
I vary as a high handicapper. I obviously lose a ton of balls, but I don't like the feeling of having a golf ball in my pocket. So I too never. I don't like the mentality of it. So I can't tell you how many times I've had to run fully back across fairways or back to wherever our cart is to find a ball after I ice cold shanked the ball into a place where I shouldn't have even shanked the ball and put a ball OB, or the classic, oh yeah, my ball's just over there. And then I just get out of the cart, I grab my clubs, and then I go walk over there. My ball's nowhere to be found. And then I've got to Joey Coldcut sprint across the fairway back to go grab a ball out of the bag.
In those situations where I think I've lost it, I will bring one and, as a provisional idea or whatever. So I don't, pace of play, I'm aware of that. But in Sean's example or question about on the water hole, no, I'm not bringing a second one just in case I lose it, because you're already defeating yourself before you even hit it.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you don't wear gloves too. I mean, I'm assuming
I do wear a glove. I do wear a glove. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm going to introduce you to Clinch Golf here for a couple gloves.
I do need another one, so I will be checking out Clinch Golf, as long as they have black and left-handed, because I only wear black, so I need a black glove.
Left-handed, as in you need a glove for your left hand, or you're a left-handed golfer?
Correct. I'm a lefty golfer, so I need one for my right hand.
Nice.
We are breaking the weird stigma, because I feel like we've had a decent, obviously we're split 50-50 on the pod. Sean's a lefty, I'm not. But I feel like we've had more than a handful of lefties on the pod.
Yeah. I can't guarantee where it's going to go, but it looks pretty. It's it's a pretty swing. Lefties have just a naturally pretty swing. Ken Griffey Jr., Sean, myself, we're in the same class.
Griffey reference. All right. I'm going to get us back on track here before I go down the path of Ken Griffey Jr. and the kids swing, because I was a fan growing up. But let's jump into what's the second test that you wanted to look at, Jeff, for Summerfield.
Well, question 7 about the pace of play and the marshals, I believe. I don't know if you want to. Am I wording that
question
right?
7 is question 7 is the marshal test. So, does this course have a decent pace of play? Can you rely on a relatively quick round here if you have somewhere to be after?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's partly why I like Summerfield, being a 9-hole executive. How quick you can play it after a day of work. You can sneak in, especially now. It's a little bit tougher during the winter, of course. I had said I'd played once a month during the winter. Obviously, as the summer hours are here now. You can sneak in, it's 2 hours, give or take. But yeah, so they have great marshals. Again, they're all volunteers that live in the area. So you're going to get the information. So if it's slow, they're going to tell you. They're going to kind of manage your expectations like any marshal would, which is great. But then if it's slow, you're going to hear some stories, because these marshals, they play a ton. They're addicted to golf like the rest of us. Got the free time. So now they're marshals in their free time. And so they're around the game a lot, specifically at Summerfield. So they're going to share stories, and they're going to tell you how they played that morning. They're going to tell you what's going on up there, and why it's delayed, and if it's serious or, not serious because it's just golf, but, is it people screwing around, or is it just slow play or whatnot? So, yeah, you're going to get an experience at Summerfield. And you might just get the wave, if everything's good, they're not going to bug you, but they're going to go slowly by with their golf cart and give you the 2-finger wave and keep it moving.
An underrated golf course feeling for sure is the when you see the marshal out in the distance, maybe he's up off in the rough, kind of watching you guys tee off or whatnot. And you're like, are we playing slow? Are we not playing slow? Why is he waiting? Right. And then when he just drives by and he gives you the old, like, you're good, nothing to chat with you about. And then you also don't have to have the belabored 5-minute interaction with potentially a marshal. Like, that's a very underrated golf course feel.
Yeah, that's a great point. It does sort of calm things down and, like, all right, let's keep it moving. We're feeling good. We're in the groove. I get it.
I also think that if you take any even avid golfer and put us in the role of a marshal, I think we would all be the exact same as marshals are right now. We would all over talk about the rounds or the other groups or the worst people on the course that day. Like, if you just love being out there, so you just want to talk with people who are like-minded. I think we're all like-minded, but they're just on the other side of the coin, where sometimes they also have to deliver bad information or be the bad guy.
Yeah. And two, they have a lifetime of one-liners collected. And
oh my gosh,
they've got time to formulate the next one, because they got 200 yards to drive to you, so they can, they've always got something funny to say, which is great.
They've got that, and then they also you have to think about, as you pick up your one-liners in golf, you usually get them introduced when you play with random playing partners, and they get borrowed from other groups. The marshal has the largest variety of different groups to talk to and borrow one-liners from, because he sees so many people throughout a day, and then multiply that across the week. So he's just got the full Rolodex of every line for every situation, and without a doubt, they almost always have a nice one to hit you with.
Yeah,
I know I would be the same, and I'm a very social person, and I 100% don't mind those guys if they're telling me the stories or whatever, as long as it doesn't slow us down. That's my favorite thing, is when the marshals' stories and jokes they don't realize are actually affecting pace of play.
Right.
They're just going on and on.
That's a great point.
Yeah, but I don't mind it. And also, I will say, I play with someone who on their golf trips use, as opposed to like the cart girl celebrity shot, they do a marshal celebrity shot. So if the marshal comes by, they ask the marshal if he wants to hit a shot, and usually those guys will say yes, because they're just like, why not? Have fun.
Yeah,
which I think is a cool little twist. Like, you got to use them for a celebrity shot once around.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask some Summerfield marshals to take some shots for me. Might help my score.
Ooh. I also just thought about, obviously you only know your interaction with the marshals, right? And we talked about sometimes the marshal just waves you off. Are the marshals strategically talking to you for a set amount of time to try and make sure that you're playing fast, so they're trying to make sure that you don't catch the group in front of you? Or do you think it's just they just love talking
too much credit?
I don't think so. No, I think they like to talk. They like to talk golf. Like we all do. You know what I mean? Like, it's great. Yeah, no, I think
they just want to chop it up with the boys.
Yeah.
So what's like the fastest round you've played here before? Like under 2 hours?
Oh yeah. You can go quick. If you get a cart and you keep it, within the lines, yeah, you can get under 2 hours for sure.
That's awesome. So it's a perfect course to maybe like after work or something. If you get off a little early, go play real quick before you have to head home. Yeah.
Yep. Just a quick lap around Summerfield. It's great.
Pardon my tangents here. I've got another one that I've been thinking about in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, how often do you think you probably play Summerfield, even during like the summer months where you've got a lot of twilight tee time?
Twice a week.
Twice a week. Do you ever find that by playing too much 9-hole golf, it drives you to be more delusional about how good your golf game actually is? And then when you go out and play a full
delusional.
Fair. I think
no. I to me, it's just time on the course. It's swings, it's practice, and it's building the foundation for when I play 18. I play 18 maybe 2 or 3 times a month. I don't have a ton of time to get out and play 18 right now. But that's why Summerfield's so great, because I can get it in within 2 hours. But I get what you're saying, because of course, if I shoot a 44 at Summerfield, absolutely, I think I can shoot an 88, and that is not the case. No, that's not the case. 89 is my best. But anyway, so yes, I get what you're saying, but I joke that I'm so delusional and overconfident and all that. I am a realist. I am self-aware. I know I'm not that good. And so I acknowledge that, yeah, sure, 44 at Summerfield doesn't equate to a 88 at Wildwood or Chehalem or wherever else we're playing.
TJ, are you worried that Oaks North is ruining your game over there in San Diego?
I mean, Oaks North is my local 27-hole, just three different 9-hole courses that route through. And I think I have a good grasp of it, but I do think that every once in a while I go off and fire off like a good 9-hole, and then I get a little bit high on myself, and then I go and play a full-size golf course with 18 holes and come sputtering in through the last like 4 or 5 holes where things just kind of start to unravel a little bit. Because I think it does. It is reps, and I do think you do get a lot of good practice of hitting the shots that you need to hit. But I think when it comes to like a mental conditioning standpoint and being able to come in and out of it and then get locked in again, it's a lot over 4 hours, right? Like I think it's one of the things that I struggle with the most in golf. So I sometimes wonder if I still think playing 9 holes is beneficial, but I also think that for my mentals, it sometimes might be affecting them. I'm just wondering if anybody else is going through what I'm going through, or if I'm just, that's my type of delusion in golf. I know all golf.
No, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, that makes sense. Trying to play 18 can be a lot. I mean, it certainly is for me. I mean, again, I've only been playing a handful of years, so I get it. Full 18 is, I commit a day to it, and I love it, but it's definitely not as quick and easy as the lap around Summerfield.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so we talked about the Buzzworthy test. We've talked about the Marshall test. What is the third test that you want to look at here for Summerfield?
Well, I really liked question 8 about how is it for the high handicap. Obviously, myself.
Yeah.
And that's where I say I learned to play the game, or started to play the game. And it's great. It's, I've only been playing golf 5 or 6 years now, and growing up, I thought golf was, too expensive. I didn't play as a family, or my dad and my family, mom didn't play, so I didn't know anything about it. So I always thought golf was crazy expensive. Private country clubs, you got to have the right gear, the right clubs, all these things. I had all these barriers that I just sort of thought were stopping me from playing. But Summerfield, $22. It's affordable. It's got some tricky holes, but it's pretty wide and inviting and quick. And the new golfer wants to be done in 2 hours. They don't have the attention. We just talked about it. They don't have necessarily the attention span to play 18. So, with Summerfield being so welcoming in numerous ways, I think it's great for the beginning golfer or the high handicap golfer.
Very cool. Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Sean. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you ever see like families out there with kids? Like,
oh yeah,
youth program type stuff. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. It's very kid friendly. And there are times when kids probably need to, well, myself too, need to pick up and keep the pace of play, and hopefully the parents are sort of keeping that. But I'm absolutely open, or I think it's great to have, families out there and, give the kids a chance to grip it and rip it and see what happens. So
same. I think that's a good way of personifying the high handicapper test is like, you don't know who's a high handicapper or not until you watch them swing a club. But when you see kids out there, you can kind of know already that like, hey, this course, if it's kid friendly enough, might be a gettable course or might be something that's available to people of all types of golf, right? Versus like a course that you're like, hey, I never really see kids out there because it's long or it's super tough and it's not a good place you would do that. So that's cool that you see that.
There's that, but also if you're playing a full 18 at a different course, it's 60, 80, $100.
True.
That it's tough to have a 10-year-old out there for that much money, unless maybe they have a cut price for youth or something. But anyway, at Summerfield, everybody's there, 23, 22, $23. It's great for a family.
Yeah, especially if you've got a kid who's probably going to quit after 6 holes. And not be interested.
Is gone, and they're sitting in the cart, eating snacks, which is also great, but you don't want to blow $80 on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're still trying to make it through a full bucket at the range right now with mine. So we'll get there.
I love that. Okay, so Jeff, that about wraps it up for talking about Summerfield. But let's talk a little bit about what you've got going on. Let's give us the spiel on Chasing Aces, and then give us the full pitch on the Franklin Open. Let people know what's going on, where it came from, where it originated, and what they can expect.
Sure. Well, I certainly appreciate the chance to talk about it because I do love it. It's pretty important to me. I mean, again, Chasing Aces was a brand that was launched after my golden retriever passed, Franklin. And, he was my sidekick. He was with us all the time. And unfortunately, he passed in an accident, and it absolutely wrecked me. And with some time in therapy, it really helped. And processing all of that, I had started golfing, unrelated, but I was golfing. And I would see logos on the course and see the Greg Norman Shark or the Roback Dog or any of these other logos. And the idea came, well, I'm going to make a Franklin logo because I want to wear my guy. I want that. And it wasn't going to be a brand. It was just, I made shirts. I made polos with his logo embroidered on it. And that was kind of just for me. And then the name came from just talking trash to your friends, essentially. I mean, we've all done it where you walk up to the par 3 and you go, hey, record me. This is going to go in. You talk a big game before you ever swing. And then you duff it 10 feet. Everybody has a laugh, and then you move on to the next one. And so this idea of, go for it. Like, we're not good. Like, you are better than me. I get that. Other players are better than others. It doesn't matter where we are, but we're all chasing aces. And it doesn't matter if it's you or Wendy or the 10-year-old stepping up to the first time or Tiger Woods. They're all thinking this could go in. Everybody has a chance that this could go in, and it doesn't matter who it is. And so that's why our tagline is everyone is chasing aces, because it doesn't matter the level. It doesn't matter how often you play. You step up to a par 3. You might say it braggadociously to your friends, or you might internalize it, but you think it's going to go in, or you want it to go in. You have that moment of this is going in. So that's where the name Chasing Aces came from, because I just love the idea of let's go for it. What are we doing here? Let's go for it. And then the logo being Franklin takes an incredibly tough situation and turns it into more positive memories, which has been amazing. So I love talking about it. I get super excited about it. It's one of my favorite things.
It's a beautiful logo too. Sorry, on the website I saw the was it a ball mark or keychain or something like that on the homepage?
The ball marker, the Franklin logo.
Really, really cool.
Yeah. I think that was how you and I even initially connected, was that I had seen the brand that had the Golden Retriever logo, and I have, in less than a month now will be a 2-year-old Golden Retriever. And I was like, I love this. Like, this is now meshing the two things that I've come to love over the last 2 years is my Golden Retriever golf at the same time. So I was like, oh, I love this.
Yeah. And kind of digging deeper to sort of give the brand a little bit more meaning is the demeanor of a golden retriever is fun and outgoing and happy to be there and having a good time and just wants to be part of the group. And that's how we're playing golf. That's what our brand is about. I'm down to play with anybody. If anyone out there wants to play Summerfield, if you've never played Summerfield, get at me. Let's go. I'll treat three other people. Let's go. And just, that's kind of the idea behind the brand. Like, we're just out there having a good time and want to introduce people to the game. Because like I said, I just recently got into it because I thought I had all these barriers, and we've taken a few people for their first rounds at Summerfield, and it's great. So that's kind of the idea behind the brand. We're just wanting to include everybody, give everybody a chance to tee it up and go for it.
I love it. So what's going on with the Franklin Open? I think by the time that we release this episode, I think you'll have registration open for at least a few days. People should be able to register by this point, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Registration should be open, or will be open May 26th. So I would assume this is after that. Like I said, came up with the brand and the tournament idea to keep his name and spirit kind of with us and invite the public or the community out to play in a very relaxed tournament. It's a 9-hole, it's par 3. We move everything up, like I said, to a par 3. So you're chasing aces on every hole. There's prizes on every hole. And this year is, again, we're putting rounds of golf and they get bigger as you go. And then also there will be a chance at $10,000 if you make a hole-in-one on hole number 9. And that's our signature hole. We put all the tents and the food and the music and all the stuff. And that was, oftentimes it's the first hole, the big energy and the tee off and the whole thing. But we want everything to be built around the 9th hole so that you're taking that swing in front of your friends, in front of a small gallery, because you're talking trash the entire time about how you're going to make it. That's all I hear. People register and they're like, oh, I'm coming for that money. I'm going to get it. Here we go. You better be recorded. And I hear it constantly. And I'm like, great. Let's see you do it in front of a gallery of 10 or 15 people, which isn't a huge gallery. This isn't the Masters. I get it. But oftentimes it's you and your friends. And if you duff it, you both have a laugh. But now you're doing it in front of a crowd, which I think is entertaining and fun. And creates that moment, because we're all competitors. I mean, we're there to compete with ourselves, with our playing partners. I'm a washed up athlete, former basketball guy. I want to compete. And so that's where it came from. And that big free throw, that big shot at the end of the game, I'm trying to manifest that or recreate that with this one big swing for $10,000 to end your day in front of everybody. And that's a lot of fun.
I mean, even if it's 10 to 15 people, I feel like it adds so much more fun and it elevates the experience. Even if you don't know those people, we've all had that hole where the patio of the clubhouse is against the green and you're aware that some people are watching and it's in your head. And I love that.
It's 10 at Wildwood. It's 10 at Eastmo. It's all of those where, everybody who's either hanging out before or after their round is always keeping an eye on the tee box during the entire time that they're there. They could be locked in on a conversation, but at least one eye is still being held on the group on the tee box just to see if anything cool happens or anything.
And now at a $10,000 prize to the ace, and now let's talk about I would want to finish first in that tournament, play first, and then just crack a beer and watch people come in on 9. That would be so much fun.
And we have all the food and the tents, kind of a horseshoe around the tee box.
That's cool.
And so people are finishing and they're getting their food, and then we have the tables, and with cornhole and whatnot and all the things to keep people there and to build that small gallery, because it is a ton of fun. So
what other Pacific Northwest or Portland brands do you have coming out for anybody who's potentially in the area and wants to know maybe a little bit more, or what else they can expect? Who else are you planning on having out there?
Golf brands or businesses that we're partnering with?
Anything. Let them know.
Anything. Well,
shout them out.
First of all, Dead Stock Coffee is going to be there. They're the local coffee shop down the street, and super supportive of the brand. We love what they're doing. They just opened up a second location in Beaverton, so we're super, proud of them for that, and honored to go support that. But they're offering up coffee and a watermelon lemonade drink called the My Man that I have sort of fallen into this weird, I don't know what you call it, tick, where I just walk up to everyone, hey, my man, my man, my man. And they picked up on that and created this drink that's only available at the Franklin Open. It's called the My Man. And I'm
very cool.
It's kind of fun. So Deadstock's going to be there, which is great. We've got Coolant Cleaners. We've got a new sponsor there. They're a local, house cleaning company that one woman show. Well, now she's got some employees, but they're going to run our tie break putting at the beginning. So you register, you check in for the tournament, and then to help with tiebreakers, we have a long putt at the beginning. And so our whole thing is, I'm not a fan of gimmies. It doesn't matter how short, 2 inches, tap that in, a foot, tap it in, within the leather, tap it in. So there's no gimmies. And so that's why we partnered with a cleaning company, because we want you to clean up those putts. And so they're gonna run the putting tiebreaker at the beginning. So you'll get to see them there, which is great. I'm super excited to have them on board. Umpqua Bank came on as a sponsor, which is a big deal. That is allowing us to make custom ball markers this year.
Oh, cool.
Which is really exciting. We're working with Matchstick Golf. I'm sure you're familiar with Matchstick here in Portland.
We've had Dane on. Dane did Dane did Eastmo. Yeah. We did Eastmo.
So we're working with them, and Franklin's middle name is Waffles, Franklin Waffles. So the ball markers this year are Waffles, and then on the back it has TFO and says Matchstick, and then we're numbering them 1 through 100. So you come up and you buy a marker, and you're going to rifle through or dig through the bowl or whatever we have on the table. And if you pull the 1 of 100, the first, because you're chasing aces, you get free entry into the Franklin Open for life. So you're chasing aces all the time. So there'll be 100 markers available, and one of them will be gold and the others will be black. And you're looking for that golden waffle, essentially.
How cool is that?
And then the caterers are going to be Let 'em Cook, and they're making a waffle menu. So waffle sandwiches, waffle cone, ice cream, things like that. So the theme this year is waffles, and then we're giving away free entry to TFO for life, and it's yours. It's like Packer tickets. If you can't make it, you can give it to somebody. You can have someone. It's yours for life. You can do whatever you want with it. So you got a twosome, and it's not just one person. It's a twosome into the Franklin Open. So I'm super excited to work with Matchstick Golf on that, and we'll see. And if we don't sell 100, and maybe we sell 50, we're going to put the others online, and then people would buy them, and you'll be opening them like a pack of cards or Willy Wonka bar, and open them up, and you might get that golden marker.
That's awesome.
That's
I love that.
Something we're working on. The first 100 people to register, got one sitting right here. We'll get a custom bag tag that we're making.
Oh, cool.
So
very nice.
Everybody gets a bag tag. First 100 people to register get a bag tag. But yeah, I could ramble on about this for hours because I love the Franklin Open. We're partnering with Golden Bond Rescue to donate to the local charity. They work with larger breeds and helping them, foster and find homes. So they work with labs and golden retrievers and things like that. But we've been donating to them for the first 3 years. This will be our 4th year partnering with them. So some of the money that we can raise will be going to them. But again, like I said, I'll ramble on about this for hours. But I hope you guys can make it one day.
Yeah, we would love to. Obviously, it was great having you hop on. It was phenomenal to chat about this. Obviously, our goal is at some point get out to Portland, get out to Tigard. Tigard?
Yeah.
Jeff, you correct me.
Tigard.
Which one is it? Tigard.
Yep.
Tigard. Not okay. So obviously, we want to make it out there. Hopefully, someday play in a Franklin Open. And then we'll have Jeff come back on. We'll cover this on a must play. So obviously, stay tuned. And we'll probably have to talk to some of our friends to see if they can make it out to the Franklin Open this year, and maybe do some not investigative reporting. What's the word that I'm looking for? They're going to have to be like our satellite reporters from the Pacific Northwest. So as we sign off, we always just say, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. And if you happen to be listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to rate, level select, and subscribe for more upcoming courses and episodes. Jeff, thanks again. It was awesome having you on. Awesome chatting the Franklin Open and chatting Summerfield. And we'll talk to you guys next time when we unlock a new level.
Thank you, Jeff. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me on.